Vast halls stretch into darkness. No voices, no footsteps, only the hiss of welding torches and the whir of robotic arms moving in perfect rhythm. Driverless vehicles glide across the floor, delivering parts with machine precision. There are no lights overhead because there are no humans inside. No break rooms, no heating, no wages, no workers. Eliminating the human-centric infrastructure alongside the humans who once relied on it, these factories let machines work without human oversight, cutting costs, erasing wages, and driving production ever higher. This isn't a prototype. It isn't a prediction. It's already here. China has deployed over 2 million robots in its factories, an autonomous workforce larger than most nations. And for the average worker, the meaning is brutally simple. Every robot on the line is one less human hand. Displacement isn't coming someday. It's happening now. The only question left is not if people will be replaced, but how fast. The numbers are staggering. China now operates more than 2 million industrial robots inside its factories, more than the United States, Europe, and Japan combined. In 2024 alone, nearly 300,000 new robots were installed across Chinese production lines. That's almost 10 times the pace of America's adoption. This isn't just a statistic. Each machine represents a role once filled by a human being. A welder replaced by a robotic arm. A driver replaced by an autonomous vehicle. A line worker replaced by a machine that never sleeps. And unlike human labor, these robots don't demand wages, health care, or rest. They don't strike. They don't quit. They simply work, endlessly, efficiently, and without oversight. What we're witnessing is not the future of work. It's the end of human labor at scale, a transformation already underway and accelerating faster than anyone imagined. The headlines told the story. At Foxconn's massive Zhengzhou plant, the so-called iPhone City, workers building the iPhone 17 reported wage withholding, forced night shifts, and 60 to 75-hour work weeks. Conditions were so harsh that Apple was forced to launch an investigation. This is the reality for those still clinging to factory jobs. Human labor pushed to the breaking point. But even this suffering is being made obsolete. Because while Foxconn squeezes its workers, China is quietly replacing them. More than 2 million robots now operate inside Chinese factories, more than the United States, Europe, and Japan combined. In just 1 year, nearly 300,000 new robots were added to production lines. Each machine represents a role once filled by a human being. A welder replaced by a robotic arm. A driver replaced by an autonomous vehicle. A line worker replaced by a machine that never sleeps. And unlike people, these robots don't demand wages, health care, or rest. They don't strike. They don't quit. They simply work, endlessly, efficiently, and without human oversight. This isn't the future of work. It's the end of human labor at scale, a transformation already underway, accelerating faster than anyone imagined.
This isn't random adoption. It's not just companies chasing efficiency. It's a state-driven strategy. For more than a decade, Beijing has poured billions into automation under its Made in China 2025 initiative, a blueprint to dominate the industries of the future. Robotics, AI, electric vehicles, semiconductors, all backed by subsidies, tax breaks, and government mandates. The goal is simple: reduce dependence on human labor, eliminate the vulnerabilities of strikes, wages, and unrest, and secure global dominance in manufacturing. Foxconn's iPhone City shows the human cost of the old model. Workers pushed to exhaustion, wages withheld, conditions so harsh Apple was forced to investigate. But the new model is even more ruthless. Remove the workers entirely. Replace them with machines that never complain, never organize, never stop. This is not just industrial policy. It's social engineering, a deliberate effort to reshape the balance between humans and machines, and to ensure that in the factories of the future, people are no longer required at all.
What begins in China never stays in China. The strategy is already rippling outward, forcing competitors in the US, Europe, and beyond to accelerate their own automation just to keep pace. For corporations, the logic is irresistible. Machines don't demand wages, don't organize unions, don't need pensions or health care. For governments, the appeal is just as clear: a workforce that never protests, never strikes, never resists. But for the average worker, the implications are devastating. Every industry built on human labor, from manufacturing to logistics, from retail to transport, is now vulnerable to the same replacement. The factory worker in Detroit, the warehouse picker in Berlin, the delivery driver in São Paulo, all face the same question: how long before the machines arrive for them? This isn't just about China's rise. It's about the collapse of the social contract that has bound work to survival for centuries. Because when labor is no longer needed, what happens to the billions of people who still depend on it to live? If 2 million robots can already erase millions of human roles, what happens when that number doubles or triples? Factories that once employed tens of thousands will operate in silence. Vast complexes running without a single human on the floor. Warehouses will be staffed entirely by autonomous vehicles and robotic arms. Delivery fleets will navigate cities without drivers. And offices, too, will not be spared. Algorithms already draft reports, design campaigns, even write code. The timeline isn't measured in decades, it's measured in years. Because the logic of automation is exponential. Every breakthrough accelerates the next. For corporations, the incentive is irresistible. For governments, the temptation is undeniable. But for billions of workers, the future looks like a cliff edge. When labor is no longer needed, what becomes of the people who still depend on it to live? Do they adapt? Do they resist? Or are they simply left behind, casualties of a world that no longer requires them? The story began in silence. Vast halls where machines work without light, without rest, without people. But it doesn't end there. Because what's happening inside China's factories is not an isolated experiment. It's a preview, a glimpse of a future where labor itself is obsolete, and the billions who depend on it are left behind. The question is no longer whether automation will replace human workers, it's how fast, and whether society will act before the machines outpace not just our jobs, but our ability to adapt. Every headline, every milestone, every dark factory is a warning. Ignore it, and the future will be written by the machines alone. Confront it, and maybe, just maybe, we decide what kind of world comes next.